So recently I was searching through Facebook Marketplace when I came across a very strange listing for a PC. This is the Acer Aspire M3600. Well, at least the case for it. It comes with an Intel Core 2 Duo clocked in at 2.2 GHz, 2GB of DDR2 RAM, and the Intel 946GZ chipset graphics, which is a custom variation of the Intel jamais 3000 graphics, but specifically made for this Acer Aspire. So not the specs that would set the world alight. However, what grabbed my attention and the reason I picked it up was it was only £10, which is a very cheap price for a PC in my area at least, and at least on Facebook Marketplace. But there was a catch. The computer had been completely dismantled by a madman, and I'll get more into this as we rebuild this hunk of junk, but let's just say when I went to go and fetch it, it was in 5 separate bags. So yeah, not a great start, but it came with a free keyboard, so I shouldn't complain too much. So let's rebuild this. Now you're probably wondering why a PC like this had been taken apart in the first place. The guy who brought it off said he was having issues with the machine taking multiple times to boot up or stay on. He said it used to take him a fair amount of attempts until the machine would stay on, and then one day it wouldn't. So at first it sounds like a power supply issue, but from the photos I saw it was an FSP group power supply, which are known for being very reliable PSUs. But as soon as I got the parts home, I could see the power supply was the issue, without any testing. As you can see, there is a cracked capacitor and this weird capacitor residue that looks like dust but is whiter in colour, and it has gone over all inside of the power supply, so all the internals. So I wasn't going to risk plugging it in to test, otherwise it could have blown up for all we know. I've tried to show this as best as I can on camera, but you'll just have to take my word for it, as it just looks like dust on camera. Anyway, let's get this thing cleaned up. Now the only thing this PC didn't come with was a hard drive, which had been removed by the owner because it had his data on. So I used my Seagate Barracuda drive, which I had lying around. For a power supply, I used my test PSU, which is a Corsair 500 watt unit. However, I will swap this out for a cheaper Delta or FSP power supply at a later date, as this PC really doesn't need 500 watts. So I first booted up into Windows 10, which was already installed on my hard drive, but this computer had next to no driver compatibility with Windows 10 and it was very slow due to the 2GB of RAM. So I decided to install Windows 7, which was a lot quicker and had compatibility with basically everything on the PC through Windows Update. So let's get into the benchmarks. First up was web browsing. This was quick and pretty snappy for the specs we have, meaning we had no problem using sites. YouTube was first up. As you can see, it performs fairly well. 1080p 60fps was just a bit too much for it, but 720p 60fps was doable. I also used their H.264 Chrome extension to disable 60fps and to encode the video in H.264 codec, which made the playback great in 1080p, but I don't have any footage of this. The next site I tried out was Tom's Hardware forum, which loaded great and I had no issue searching through and reading people's posts. Now I did run Discord on the machine and it was okay. It was a little slow at times but would get you by. I didn't film this as it was only a quick test, but it's something I thought I'd mention. Overall performance in Windows 7's desktop was great. Everything felt smooth and folders opened very quickly. Now to the games, which is where it sort of goes downhill for this PC very quickly. First up was Dirt 3. I tried this, it's the oldest game I have in my Steam library and I thought it stood a good chance of running on this PC. However, while it was loading, I had a Windows error saying the executable had stopped working, and no matter what I tried I couldn't fix this. Then I tried Sonic Mania, and it's a lightweight game that usually performs well on older machines. Again, the game would not launch, as you can see. I also tried out City Skylines, and the Paradox launcher stopped halfway through installing and gave me this error message. Finally, I thought 3D Mark could save us and at least get these old, weak Intel graphics doing something 3D related. But again, no. 3D Mark did launch, but when I clicked run, it said there was an error and gave us an amazing score of 0. I even tried it in the 32-bit mode as well, but still, it wouldn't do anything. So, was this a bad buy? Well, it's impossible to be a bad buy as it was only £10, but there is better value systems out there that have a graphics card. I have seen PCs a similar age to this with GPUs going for £10 and under, and they aren't in pieces. The Intel chipsets on these old machines, as you can see, can't do anything 3D related nowadays. There was another variant of this Acer Aspire M3600 which did come with an Nvidia 8300 GS, which would have definitely been able to at least open some of the games tested today. But I've learned from this video that these specs aren't a bad option if you're on a really tight budget, as you can at least add in a cheap GPU and get some light gaming done. Just make sure your system has at least 4GB of RAM and stick to Windows 7, as Windows 10 is just too much for these Core2 Duos and weaker graphics cards in 2020. I'll be keeping this PC for a little while. It's great if I need anything that only works on Windows 7, and it also has a DVD drive so I can probably burn some CDs. However, I am looking to upgrade it at some point in the near future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.